Are you curious about what the real estate market looks like for Spokane 2024? We'll cue into this video and we'll tell you what to expect. Welcome back to Living in Spokane, Washington. My name is Hunter McKay. I'm a local real estate broker, and today I'm joined by my partner, Ryan Baumgartner, who is also a real estate broker in Spokane and California. Let's start off by talking about the general state of the real estate market. How are you feeling about it, Ryan?
Yeah, I'd say at least locally for Spokane, it feels like as it's getting slightly warmer from our cold snap, it's warming up in the market as well. We've got some more bidding wars on a couple things and a variety of price points that we definitely didn't have over the winter holiday season, and that's more traditional for us, but it does feel like spring has sprung slightly earlier than normal and everybody's getting ready to arrive for the summer buying season.
I definitely agree with you. There have been a couple of listings that I thought would go really quickly, and I realize now that I listed them too early in the year, and they're suffering from the winter blues. And a couple of listings I've brought on recently that I didn't think were going to sell, and they had bidding wars. And I don't want to say they didn't deserve them, but they wouldn't have received them a few months ago. And I think that's what's really surprising.
Definitely agree. It seems like even though things have continued to be expensive, I know everybody's power has been expensive this year, and we've had an increased expensive food. Housing has stayed that way, and the market has also continued to pick up. So that's kind of what I'm prepared for at least the first half of the year.
I think it's been really hard because even though affordability is down all across the board, Spokane is still more affordable than anywhere else in this area of its similar size. And so it all just is unfortunate because everyone still gets to complain about all of those same things that you were just talking about. But at the end of the day, they still want to live here. They're still going to buy a house. And so if interest rates drop even 1/8%, everyone fervors and goes, oh my God, I get to go buy a house now.
Yeah, and a lot of our clients are owner-occupied clients, and so they're focusing on this as it's going to be better than renting. And so even though it's expensive, you kind of have to go at some point.
That makes sense. Continuing on with some other economic factors that are going to be important this year, we are technically in an election year. I hate to even say the words. It gags me a little bit to think that it's already here, and I don't like any of the options that are available on either sides. So we're usually excited in real estate to get this temporary lull because no matter who gets elected, everyone wants to look good financially, and so they would drop interest rates. But right now, we've just had a Jerome Powell session that said, I'm not dropping interest rates. And so those two things at the same time are kind of interesting to me. Are interest rates going to go down during the election cycle? Because if they do, that could cause prices to jump again. But if Jerome Powell keeps control and just says, no, I don't care, interest rates are staying up, then I'm really interested to see if it just doesn't matter for the first time in really United States history that we're going to have an election cycle and everyone's going to be like, great, moving on. I still need to buy a house. Next.
Up next, we wanted to talk about what interest rates look like for 2024. Obviously, they're really important to both buyers and sellers. And can you tell us a little bit about what some changes in that might look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this time last year, I think the interest rate was like 4 or maybe even 3.5. I would need to double check, so please no one quote me on it. But it was way lower than what we're at right now. We're hovering right around 7, even for people with good credit. That means that if you're a down payment assistance program, you could have like an 8.5% FHA loan. And honestly, that's just really high for people. A lot of people in the FHA bracket are not going to be able to afford that. And so sellers say, well, why do I care about the interest rate? I just need someone to buy my house. Well, that's why you care. The question answered you. You need someone to be able to afford to pay the amount that you want to move. And so the lower the interest rate, the more willing the buyer is to pay for something.
Definitely. I think the real issue we're seeing here is even though buyers are noticing the decrease in price that we've seen over the last year, we are still seeing higher than before monthly payments. And so it's not really affecting their day-to-day pocket as much as they want to when they see a $10,000 or $15,000 price reduction.
Well, and I think on top of that, the buyers have more time to be more critical right now. There's a lot more inventory for them to look at. And when interest rates are as high as they are, they're not comparing savings anymore to their rental. They're looking at probably paying as much or more than their existing rental, but finding value in home ownership, which totally makes sense as long as you really enjoy the home that you're living in. But if you're kind of lukewarm on your rental and you're kind of lukewarm on your mortgage, you're probably not going to take the effort to move, which is why I think a lot of sellers are finding that they're in a position this year where they either have to upgrade their home and stand out above the crowd, or they have to reduce price. They don't just get to be every turd on the market like last year where it was like, hi, I'm a house. Do you want this house? I have 4 walls and a roof. The inspection will probably fail. You're gonna have to fight for me anyway. There's 17 offers yesterday. That hasn't come back yet. And honestly, I'm grateful because I don't think it needs to.
Yeah, but I feel like that was more 2 years ago even than last year in 2023.
I think in certain areas you still saw that, but you're right. I mean, when the interest rate was at 2 or 2.5, people were like, "Is that a house? I'll take it. It's any box. I would like it, please."
We've had inspections back for a while. We wanted to zoom in and talk a little bit about some regional variations that we're seeing across Spokane early here in the beginning of the year.
I think one of the biggest things I'm noticing right now is that in South Hill and Gonzaga District especially, there's a lot more listings, both single family and multifamily options. I can see that there's a lot of investors that are taking this final spring opportunity to kind of divest themselves of a lot of their holdings that they've bought and renovated over the last few years. I'm seeing a lot of what we'll call long-term flips. Someone who maybe kicked out the bad tenants during COVID, got the property back up to effective gross rents and actually didn't put new tenants in. They redid all the finishes and they're leaving it empty for the next owner to install the tenants that he really wants. And usually you don't see that.
I think there's another investor with a lot of inventory, specifically D.R. Horton on the north side, has a lot of new build communities that we're seeing a fair amount of inventory in and a lot of interest rate reductions. So even though the prices are similar to a lot of things that we're seeing in nearby neighborhoods, the monthly payment can be significantly less because they are buying the rate down by sometimes even a couple points.
I definitely agree. Some of the new interest rates offered by D.R. Horton and other builders across the nation have been pretty incredible. One of the things that I always want to coach people on is bring your agent to the first home meeting that you have. Even if you think you're going to build a new home, you still need to get a real estate broker. Most of the builders will have an on-site agent, but that person is working for the builder. They definitely are not going to share with you all of the different ways that you can get the best deal, and it's more than just making sure that you have the best interest rate. The builder doesn't want to give you a big discount on the purchase price because if they do, everyone else for the next 6 months is going to notice and is going to use that as negotiable leverage against the builder. And so there's lots of different ways that you can get credits, but you need someone working on your behalf, not on the builder side. What challenges and opportunities do you see for first-time home buyers in 2024?
You know, I think the challenges are really similar to the challenges that affect all buyers. They're just accentuated by a lot of the circumstances that first-time home buyers are generally feeling. A lot of them have a limited down payment or are participating in down payment assistance programs, which can come with an even higher interest rate or just be affected by a higher loan balance. And so since they're borrowing more money, it's probably a higher percentage of their income and they're really feeling that extra interest rate a little bit more than the rest of us.
I definitely agree. I think that first-time home buyers, like everyone, are experiencing the affordability crunch. But for them especially, they're looking at a first-time home just being $250,000. I remember my first year in the business, I had this client who bought a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, and she was a single mom working at a coffee shop getting $16 an hour. And she bought a 3-bedroom, 1-bath in a decent neighborhood for like $165K. And it wasn't a fantastic house, but it was absolutely a house that I would have lived in and been comfortable. It was petite and cute and had a nice kitchen and even had granite countertops. There's just no way that I would be able to get anything like that for that price. And so the first-time home buyer has to be okay with, okay, my home isn't going to have granite countertops. I'm going to have to put in a little bit of work. But there's a lot of opportunity for the first-time home buyer because rent is still 100% interest. I think one of the most important things to do when considering is it the right time to buy is go on Zillow and take a look at what's a home that I could really actually see myself living in for 5 years. And ignore the Zillow financed price. That's based on a 720 credit score and 20% down, which you're probably not going to do.
call a lender or call your real estate broker. Call me and I will help you understand what your likely payment is with your minimum payment down. And then you can understand what's that monthly payment look like compared to the rent that I'm already paying. If you're already paying that or more in rent, buy a house because you're already paying someone's mortgage. It could be yours.
I know we've had some new laws and policy changes this year. Can you tell us some of the things we're experiencing here in Washington?
Absolutely. There's a lot of policy changes across the country, and the real big one that I want to focus in on is pre-2024, any buyer's agent, any real estate broker with a license could take out any other client, and they hadn't necessarily established a client-broker relationship yet. You could take someone through a couple of doors and kind of get to know each other like you're dating, and that was totally okay. Post 2024, there are all of these new laws that basically say, no, you can't do that. And there are good and bad reasons to this, but the short of it is agents must have signed representation agreements from their clients before anyone goes and looks at houses. This means that you should go and interview a couple of agents and actually go meet with them for coffee. Figure out why they are competent. Ask them about their pedigree and how long they've been in the business. How many homes have they sold? If they're only selling 2 or 3 homes a year, even if they're your best friend or your sister or your cousin, please don't work with them. This is a really big transaction, and you deserve to be working with someone who does 30, 40, 50 transactions a year, because that's how they get good at fixing problems. And you will experience problems, whether or not you're a first-time home buyer or an 80-year-old person buying your 17th home. There are always problems, and you need someone to guide you through them. I think we should wrap up with some advice. What would you tell buyers looking in 2024?
I would say plan on spending maybe 5 or 7 years in your home. We're back to that, I think. And really look for a home that's going to be a reality for you, and make sure that you're comfortable with that monthly payment. I do think that you're going to have the opportunity to refinance, but we really don't know when that's going to be. So make sure that you're comfortable with your payment as it sits today. I'd suggest taking a fixed rate, and maybe look at a newer home if you're looking for something a little bit more square footage and a lower monthly payment. You might be able to get into some lower interest rates there that'll help you actually achieve that if you're looking to move in the near future.
I definitely agree that 5 to 7 years is a really important time frame. I've had so many clients call me after 1 year and be like, hey, can I sell my house? Yes, we can always sell your house. But if you just bought it with no money down last year, then this year is probably not the best time to sell your home. If you've owned your home for 17 years and you've been paying on it, almost any time is a great time to sell your home, as long as you actually want to move. And so timing is important. When my parents were in real estate, you would tell a client, hey, please hold on to your home for 7 to 10 years just so you can break even. Now we're saying hold on to it to 7 to 10 years and you're going to make money. Big difference, really big difference. And so everyone just needs to remember that we can be patient. COVID taught us that prices were expensive, economies would fall apart, and that inflation was crazy. I hope that all of those times are over and that we're getting back to more balanced economies. But sellers understand that buying is still expensive for people right now. It's not like it was when interest rates were at 2.5% or 3.5%. It's a really big decision to buy a house, and it's more so now than ever. And so if you're thinking, I'm gonna sell my home for top dollar, that's okay, you can still do that. But you need to understand that buyers are going to be much more persnickety, and they have the time and availability to be that way because the homes are staying on the market a little bit longer. So take the extra 2 weeks to do that painting. Meet with your agent and figure out what's the punch list that I need to do to really make my home stand out above all of the other comps that have sold recently. Take a look at what's on the market and really think to yourself, if I was buying my home compared to these other 15 homes, would I buy my house again? If you can't say emphatically yes, you're not going to get a bidding war. Thanks for watching today's video, and if you have any predictions or comments about what you think 2024 is going to be like, put them in the comment section below. We'd love to hear about them. Be sure to subscribe, and don't forget to check in for next time.